So here we are with the final setup, how to record audio from the screen, your voice input, whilst you're doing a screen recording, and to be able to monitor yourself in headphones without any latency or any echo. The crackling that you may hear is my fireplace. I've had to put some wood in there because where I live it's November now and it's getting pretty cold. That is not microphone distortion. It's just oak wood burning in the fireplace, just to get that out of the way. I already have my two devices created, one for the input and one for the output. We are going to create them together now. Very important is that in my setups, I'm using the Yeti stereo microphone. I'm using it as an input. Here is the input. It's got two because it's stereo. And I'm also using it as an output with the headphones plugged in. And it's also got a stereo headphone output. In your case, you won't have Yeti unless you bought it. You'll see another microphone here. If you have an external microphone or even the built-in microphone, please remember to avoid the latency, you've got to be getting output before you get into the computer. I'm doing that with the Yeti stereo microphone with the headphones plugged into it. You can also use a sound card, or you can use a mixer, an external mixer and an external sound card. You can also do this with a normal microphone. Just plug in a microphone in your inline input or wherever you plug in an external microphone. But then you're going to have the problem of having to monitor yourself through the computer and you will get latency. I've covered these to death in the past tutorials, just to go through them again. To create these devices, there are two options: aggregate device and multi-output device. The multi-output device is this one below here, and it speaks for itself. Multi-output. If you've watched the MIDI sound setup mixer tutorial, where I've joined all my outputs, you already know about this. The aggregate device serves to conglomerate other devices and to send them somewhere else, in my case to the system sound preferences. And if you click on the first one, aggregate device, you'll get this one. This is the symbol. This is the aggregate device. I'll just get rid of this. So my main aggregate device, if I click on it, I can see here what I've included in it. And if I click on this little arrow here, again, I have all this here repeated. Soundflower and the Yeti stereo microphone inputs. This name I've created myself. All you have to do is just click there and write in whatever is good for you. Make it so that it makes sense. On all the other ones, if you click on them, you can't change them because they're hardware inputs and hardware outputs. And you also can't change the name of Soundflower. So for my Yeti, I've called it Yeti to sound logical to me, so that I know what's going on. This is the Yeti QuickTime input. This is also what I will be choosing in QuickTime when I do the screen recording for the audio. And the configuration of this is as follows. Soundflower 2 channels. This is to record the screen recording sound. So anything playing on the monitor, a YouTube video, an MP3 will get recorded. And also my voice will be added to that because I'm speaking through the Yeti stereo microphone. You will be speaking through another microphone probably, or maybe even the built-in microphones, whatever you have. For this device here, this is the multiple output device. Again, I'm using Soundflower. And in this case, Soundflower is putting out what it's recording from the screen audio to my headphones. In the first one, Soundflower is putting in what it's getting from the screen, and here it is putting out. So I'm getting the sound, whatever Soundflower has recorded in this one, I'm getting it then out again from Soundflower, and it's combined to the output of my Yeti stereo microphone, where I can hear both what's going on the screen and also my voice without any latency feedback. I will now go and create these, and I will give them different names just for the sake of clarity, and then I will show you how to set them in the system sound preferences and also in the QuickTime screen recording option. So let's do this. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the aggregate device. Click on the plus, create aggregate device. Now remember, this device is going to be the input from the screen, the input from your microphone, and you're going to choose it in the QuickTime screen recording. So give it a logical name that you remember what it's for. So I'm going to call it input screen, mic, as in microphone, for QT. Okay, so input, screen, mic for QuickTime. And as in my previous setting, I will choose Soundflower 2 channels and my Yeti stereo microphone. Careful here, this is input and output, so I'm doing the input, so obviously I will go down in this column, which is the input, and here it is. Now you will notice that whatever you choose first, the system will put it as the clock source. That's the leader source in this case. Don't leave Soundflower there. Choose your microphone. And make sure that all of your other devices are the same kilohertz here. If I look at all the other ones, they're all 44.1. So, and that's done. We've created the input device, screen and microphone for QuickTime. Clock source is the main microphone, sample rate 44.1 kilohertz, and here we've chosen Soundflower and the Yeti stereo microphone. Now we're going to create the multi-output device, and again give it a logical name, and we will call it output. Listen, no latency. As default, he already thinks, oh, you've already used me once, so I'll give you the offer to use me again. No, we don't want you. This is my previous setting. Again, we want Soundflower, 2 channels, and we want the Yeti stereo microphone. Now, since I'm doing output, yeah, because the multi-output device doesn't offer to put any inputs in, now all I have to do is just choose the Yeti, and per default I will know that that is the output headphone jack from the Yeti microphone. Once again, you could do it the other way around. Choose your microphone first and Soundflower, and you wouldn't have this problem here. So I have to go back here, choose the Yeti as the master device. Again, 44.1 kilohertz. And that's basically it. So, and I've created exactly the same 2 devices, which I'm using now to do this tutorial screen recording. Input, Soundflower Yeti microphone. Yeti QuickTime input the same. Output, listen, no latency. Soundflower Yeti stereo microphone. Yeti record with audio. The same settings. And these 2 are the ones that we can now set in the system preferences. I will basically be changing these 2 for the ones that I'm already using. This was just for the scope to show you how to configure them. So if I now open my system settings, my sound preferences, and zoom in, you can see that I'm using, this is my old setting, yeah, Yeti QuickTime input. That means the Yeti input and Soundflower, and I choose that in the QuickTime recording option when I'm doing the screen recording or the audio recording. For output, I'm using Yeti record with audio output to Yeti. That was my previous name. I have now created 2 different ones. So in the output, I will choose the output listen no latency. In the input settings, this is the actual one that I'm using. Here's the new one I created, input, screen audio, microphone for QuickTime input, and I just choose that there. And I am basically done. And once I've chosen these in the sound system preferences, the input, the new one, input screen mic for QuickTime, output, output listen, no latency, you will see that they've jumped here. The microphone icon and the speaker icon have jumped. This is the one where I'm now recording the screen and the microphone. And this is the one where the sound is coming out from the screen, the recording previously recorded in this one, through Soundflower and back to the Yeti headphones output. Now the last thing we have to do is configure QuickTime to do a screen recording with these options.